Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 53. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. Dave, they've done it again by any means necessary, and really I think there's a similar story to many this year. Defensively driven, offense doing just enough, creating splash plays outside of the offense. The Steelers beat the Cardinals 23-17, moved to 8-5 on the season. They continue to control their own destiny in a season where we thought it would be anything but.
Yeah, get out of a stadium with another win, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, and effectively did that. Was not pretty at a point or two in there. Good thing that style points don't always count in in certain games there. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about some things that happened in the fourth quarter there during that game. But look, they're not they're doing just as Mike Tomlin said. They're getting out of stadiums with wins, and this time they actually scored more than 20 points, 23 to be exact, and the defense was right there at that magic number, 16 to 17 points that we talk about, or Keith Butler talks about every week, and here you are, 8-5 after starting the season 0-3. People had you down and out, and now as you stated, you still control your own destiny. They still remain the 6th seed in the AFC, and now they have a shot, thanks to other things that transpired on Sunday, to play for the number 5 seed Sunday night in what going to be a very huge game at this point of the season.
Sure, if they beat Buffalo, they'll be the 5 seed, so that's a lot on the line next Sunday. And really, to take it back to yesterday, I feel like I sound like a broken record because it's the same story every week, but obviously when they end in victories, I'll take it any time. But it just felt defensively driven with the splash plays, the timely plays there, and the offense, which did get off to a better start, but was still slow in the first half, then kind of picked things up a little bit in the second half. It just kind of feels like the same way this team's won basically all their games this year, but as you said, by any means necessary, doesn't matter how you do it, no style points needed, just get the victory, and that's what this team's doing.
Well, obviously, you'd like to see the offense, click a lot better than what it is, at least on a more consistent point-producing basis, without all the help of the turnovers and the sacks or whatnot. But you got to understand, you got a young quarterback here, and we keep talking about this being kind of a fragile offense, and look, I mean, he's throwing the football down the field. He's probably not throwing the football down the field, down the middle of the field, like probably some people would probably like him to be able to do. But you go back to what Mike Tomlin has said several times now. He not killing us. He didn't turn the football over in this game. He's still got an adjusted net yards for passing attempt number well over 7. It was 7 yesterday. If you just look at it from a statistical standpoint of his passing yard, you probably wrinkle your nose up a little bit. But overall, when you look at kind of the other analytics that go along with it, I mean, he's getting it done.
He is, and we'll talk about the offense more in depth in a second. And I've seen improvement from this offense, and I think just my overall thought is hopefully if this team can get in the playoffs, which they're certainly on track to do, by the time you get to that point, this offense is at a place where it's at about an average level, which might be good enough to make a serious run with the way the defense has been playing. So, we'll talk about the offense a little more. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to basically say, what if I would have told you at the beginning of the year that the offense at this point, I mean, look at, I think we take for granted how much they can do sometimes with some of these younger wide receivers on this team. And you talk about the whole moving train and all. There's still a lot of these players on offense are still trying to get up to speed on certain things. So I don't imagine, the playbook I'm sure is getting thicker by the week, but it's still probably not not what obviously what it would be of Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, look, you got Deion Kane, you got Tevin Jones, you got Kareth White, you got two rookies in Deontay Johnson and Benny Snell back there. Geez, Trey Edmonds getting snaps back there.
Right. I mean, still Duck being a young guy.
I mean,
third start.
Devlin Hodges, rookie undrafted free agent quarterback, a guy that wasn't even technically on your roster to begin with. You got a guy in Nick Vannett who hasn't, he's been around for most of the season, but if you go back to even that first season when they traded for Vance McDonald, remember him talking about, man, just not having that off season and all, and when you throw in on top of it, the third different quarterback that you've had this season on top of it. I mean, the totality of this is just so damn amazing, and it kind of irks me when people, get so mad after a win, especially with the shape of the offense and the pieces on this offense right now. I don't think people just realize how freaking incredible this is right now at this point.
That's a great point. I mean, through 13 games last year, the Steelers were 7-5-1 with Ben, with AB, with all the pieces that they had. They don't have this year, and then this year through 13 games, they're 8-5. And obviously, there's a lot of reasons for that: the defense, Boswell, less giveaways. I mean, a million factors. But just on paper, I mean, to have this group have a better record than last year's group with the talent they had, where they were clearly more talented team, at least on offense, is simply remarkable. So I think that perspective you're talking about is really important.
I mean, a lot of these guys, let's face it, a lot of these guys at wide receiver would probably still be on practice squads,
right.
Elsewhere. Yeah. I mean, and Johnny Holton, that's a practice squad guy. Deion Kane, for all practical purposes, you could probably make an argument that he might stick at the bottom end of a 53 elsewhere in the league. Tevin Jones, practice squad guy. It's just, Kareth White, was on a practice squad there. Outside of your offensive line, God bless them. It's just, I think you fans and analysts just need to take a step back and look at the totality of this thing, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and just marvel at how long is it going to last? I mean, are they going to get into the playoffs? Are they going to win a game? How far can they go? We don't know, but I think just the totality of this is really, really stunning at this point.
I don't know how far they'll go, but I'm enjoying the ride because I didn't expect to be in this situation right now.
Look, this has been a very, as enjoyable as it can be for losing, the pieces. But we've got to evaluate a couple of young quarterbacks, several young wide receivers, and obviously get to marvel in a defense that the best we've seen in Pittsburgh for a decade, on top of it. So, yeah.
For a team that lost Ben Roethlisberger 6 quarters into the season, I didn't think I'd be smiling in December. I figured it would just be one of those doom and gloom punt kind of years. So it's been remarkable. Absolutely, Dave. To go to the injury report now before we dive into the game, coming out of the Cardinals' victory, Mike Tomlin said Vance McDonald sustained a concussion, so he's in protocol. That happened about midway through yesterday's game, and Jalen Samuels has a groin injury of some description, according to Tomlin, so unknown there. Get an update on their status Tuesday. More importantly, or maybe just as importantly, some reports from outside media coming in about JuJu and James Conner, both indicating that they're eyeing a return for Sunday night against Buffalo. Obviously, no one knows for sure. Again, Tomlin will hopefully offer an update, a more optimistic update perhaps on Sunday. But if you get those guys back for Sunday in that really critical matchup you highlighted a moment ago against Buffalo with the 5 seed on the line, that would be obviously huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if not knowing what's going to happen now. You get a guy in a concussion protocol, and we don't know how that's going to turn out with Vance McDonald. So you would think that probably for first and foremost, probably a guy like Rader is going to be coming back to the practice squad or Tuesday, sometime on Tuesday. So we'll probably expect that, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed to see if Vance can exit protocol by the end of the week. And As far as Samuel, I didn't see this. Did you see when the Samuels injury happened? I didn't see. I mean, did he hurt
No.
that on the play where he got smacked upside the head and it just tightened up as the game went on? I don't know. I know he was checked for a concussion there. After getting hit upside the head there, but then returned and obviously played quite a few snaps after that. So we'll have to see how that pans out. If James Conner returns this week, which it sounds like there's a chance of that happening, then one of your running backs is probably going to be down anyway, right? So if Samuels doesn't practice with that groin, perhaps he's the one that maybe is the one to sit this week. And JuJu had said last week that he had resumed running, albeit just straight line variety. So we'll have to see how he progresses. And look, you hit on those are just outside reports. It sounds more speculatory than anything. And Mike Tomlin, of course, will give us a little bit more. Shouldn't say definitive, but a little more idea which way that might go Tuesday when he meets the media.
Yep, we'll keep you posted. Sounds like there's at least some optimism around those guys that hasn't existed since they've really been hurt. So that's a little bit of good news on the additional good news of the victory. So let's talk about the Steelers' 23-17 win over the Cardinals. Dave, do you want to start with the offense, defense, or we can start special teams, which has a lot of ups and downs to talk about there too?
Yeah, whatever way you want to go. I guess we can start on offense first, and I think one of the things that stuck out to me after getting some of the initial charting set up and going through kind of some of the numbers that I like to go through. The team had a 50% run success rate, which is. For this team right now is fantastic. Obviously, you like that number higher, 52, 53% if possible. That's kind of tops in the league. But to get right at a 50% run success rate after running around, 45, 47%, I think that's a big factor there. I think kind of the other factor here, on third downs, they were 4 of 11. Which not awful. What is that? 40? Is that like 38% or something? What's 4 of 11?
36%. For Pittsburgh, again, not awful, but not where you want to be. The Cardinals were 4-11, for example.
Not where you want to be, but you can work with it, I guess. And let's see, penalties only 4 after having, what did they have, 10 last week against the Browns, and 6 of those being false starts. I think they did have at least one false start yesterday with, who was it, Villanueva, I think, there, but 4 penalties overall. There's nothing wrong with that. They did have the 2 turnovers, but one of them came during the punt there. They almost had another disastrous one on a sack, but Matt Filer was able to fall on that. Their time of possession a little bit better this time at nearly 32 minutes on it, and you didn't have to ask, you didn't need Devlin Hodges to do too terribly much. Once again, you look at the yardage numbers, 152 yards. He did complete 16 of 19 passes in the game. One of those was a throwaway. One of those was a wide receiver screen late, I think, that got batted down. And where was the other one?
I'd have to look. I can't remember off the top of my head where that one was. But yeah, it felt like a very Ben rookie year kind of stat line. 16 for 19, $152, a touchdown, no picks. I thought he played well, but yeah, they didn't have to put a lot on his plate, and obviously getting to play with a lead for once for at least a good chunk of this game certainly helps, and not putting too much on his plate.
Yeah, there were 3 throws that stuck out to me when going back through that game.
Well, let me guess.
Go ahead.
The Deontay Johnson touchdown. I'm going to guess that's 1.
Actually 4, because I don't think I put hold on a minute, let me think. I'm trying to go back through my head here real quick. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4. That would be one of the 4 number there. Okay.
The back shoulder to Deion Kane.
Correct.
All right. What are the other ones? I'm kind of blanking on the one of them to James, a little slant.
No, that out route over to who was it? Was it Deontay over on the right side. He kind of had to wait just a moment.
Oh, yep. That was a really good throw.
That was an excellent throw, and then the out of the pocket throw on the third. What's one of the things I've been talking about is want to see him make a play outside the pocket.
Right.
And was there a bigger moment than that one? Third and what was it, 13 or 18 or?
I think 13, yeah.
13 there, and you're still right at that 2-minute warning mark. At point of the game, that's a big conversion. Now, obviously, the clock management and play calling probably wasn't supreme after that, but at least you got yourself in a position where the Cardinals had to use the rest of their timeouts, and you were able to milk off another, I don't know, I guess it ended up being 30, 32 or 35 or whatever seconds off the clock on top of it. So that was a big boy play, in my opinion, for him to roll out to his left. And, people say throwing across his body. I thought if you slow that thing down and stop it right at kind of the moment that he releases the ball, he really did a good job of squaring his shoulders up, I thought. So not really kind of that whole throwing back across the grain as much, so to speak.
Right.
It was a very high percentage throw, especially the way Deontay was coming back to the ball. So those are 4 throws right there out, and then as you hit on the touchdown throw, which even then that came off of he had to pick that snap up off the ground. On top of it. So for him to make that throw and have the ball placement where he did on that touchdown with this kind of his timing just slightly messed up there, I thought that qualified as a good throw. So four good throws out of 19 pass attempts, and we did get to see the back shoulder. And trust me, you could go through a lot of Clemson tape, and you're not going to see many slot fade back shoulders to Deion Kane. So props on that throw, and props on Deion Kane for adjusting the body to get that.
Right. I mean, it was just a really solid performance. The ball placement, the accuracy, the decision making, and I thought most importantly, because we've been pretty critical of him, and the coaches have pointed out too, his pocket presence was better. It might not have been perfect, but you saw him hitch up and climb and not bail on clean pockets like we've seen the last 2 weeks. So I think you're seeing the progression, him getting comfortable, and him just earning the coach's trust and confidence all the more. The more he goes out there and plays well, the more they're going to let him do and take more risks. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. The end game stuff hasn't been pretty in terms of the play calling, but it's been indicative of confidence in Duck Hodges to go out there and try to make the play to end the game, so your defense doesn't have to go out on the field that hasn't worked out like intended, but the confidence is there. And then ultimately, he just didn't hurt you with turnovers. Didn't throw a pick, had the one fumble, which, a little bit of unlucky there, just about to release it, and Chandler Jones hits him from the side. But overall, just playing a clean, efficient game. It just reminded me so much of, even with some scrambling, reminded me of Ben in 2004 or 2005.
Yeah, look, he took off, 5 times in total?
Mm-hmm. 34 yards, 5 times, 34 yards.
For 34, and Tomlin was asked, any of those design runs? No. I think it's pretty obvious when they were happening. Those were not design runs in those situations there. But, a couple times maybe he probably could have hung in there instead of taking off. But, I mean, he did what he did. Really only on one of those, only had really an issue with one of those, and I thought he could have done a better job on the one on the third down over to the left side, instead of just sticking, instead of going Russell Wilson there and assuming that kind of you're going to get. I thought he could have made a better effort of ensuring that he went out of bounds and it was close anyway. I mean, you could probably, and Tomlin came close to challenging that, but he probably said, "Oh, they're not going to."
Start of the half. Yeah.
There's probably not going to be enough to kind of be definitive on that. So, other than that one along the sideline there, I thought he played a great game overall.
And to go back to the run game, because I think that's been so critical the last 3 weeks. I didn't realize this till I looked at the box score. They rushed for a $140 yesterday. I mean, they ran the ball a lot, 35 times. But yeah, they ran for a $140, and no one had more than 41 yards rushing. So it came from White and Snell, I think reverse to Deontay Johnson, Jalen Samuels, Duck, getting some scrambling yards in there. But so the last 3 weeks, they've run for a $159, 124, and a $140, which again feels like very old school Steelers. So that consistent, reliable run game. You point out the run success rate, so they're running it well in total yardage and in the aggregate, but they're running well in terms of efficiency as well. That's been really key for the offense to be able to take some of the pressure off the quarterback, to control the clock more, to be in more manageable third down situations, to be able to convert in some short yardage areas. They're doing a much better job of the last, let's say, 3 weeks as opposed to the last 4 weeks prior to that. So a lot of factors coming together, and the Steelers are running the ball really, really well.
Yeah, and I mean, other than you hate to see Benny Snell turn it over early in the game, looked like maybe a blown block by McDonald on that one. There lets the defender in a little bit too quick, and you got look. What are we now? 20 games. 20 games with a giveaway.
Yep.
I mean that's surely going to come to an end at some point, right?
Hopefully. At least it's only been one the last 2 weeks, correct? So they've been avoiding multiple turnovers.
Right. So, I mean that's got to end, especially when when you've got a young quarterback like that.
No, absolutely. So again, a lot of impressive things from the offense, but I will say overall, I still have that twinge of disappointment, and obviously knowing there's still a long ways to go. I mean, this offense put up 16 points, not including the Deontay Johnson punt return touchdown against the Cardinals defense that was 31st in football in points per game had allowed 20 plus points in every single game this year. Granted, Pittsburgh got to that mark, but again, aided by the Deontay Johnson punt return. So it just felt like there's still a ways to go, and this is a time I thought they could really have their version of an offensive explosion, maybe get hitting 28 points, 30 points, right around there. It didn't happen. So there's still clearly a work in progress offensively, and still some meat left on the bone.
Offensively? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. And I mean, that was a game where you thought they might be able to get a little bit more done in the passing game. But I mean, you surely didn't want him you wanted him to be selective throwing at Patrick Peterson over on that side.
Sure.
on that other side over there. And once again, I think now probably if you look at his passing charts and all, he's not attacking the middle of the field down the field. So that's still one thing that I think he's got to conquer here at some point. But he is, if there's one thing that you keep going back to his preseason performance, it was his accuracy. Especially on those balls on the outside. Talk about Devlin Hodges there, and he's shown to be an accurate thrower, and that means a lot. And they're just not asking him to do too much. Will they? I can't help but thinking, and it goes back to what I've said about this defense and adjusted net yards for passing attempt and all. Assuming you get into the playoffs at some point. Whoever wins it all is going to have to have whatever the weaker side of the ball win them a game.
Mm-hmm. That's usually how it goes. No, I agree. Into the middle of the field, I want to see that be used more effectively. I think not having JuJu, who's going to be obviously a big middle of the field slot type threat, has hurt that ability to do that. So if he comes back Sunday, that could change. And then the tight ends not being as involved, not having as good of a year, Vance getting hurt midway through the game, I think hurts that. So hopefully whenever JuJu returns, which fingers crossed is going to be this Sunday, that'll open up the middle of the field more than what they've utilized.
Yeah, like to see some of those catch and run stuff by, and we're still not seeing a lot of RPO. No, I think they ran one RPO with those double slants, right? Was that an RPO? Was it in the second half? I'm trying to recall.
The one the Washington caught?
Yeah. Was that RPO there with just double slants in it?
I'd have to look, maybe. I think the screen to Deontay on the final drive was an RPO too, or I think, or there was one where Hodges threw the ball in an RPO, and I think it was a bad decision. I'll have to go back and check exactly what it was, because I think he should have handed it off there.
And, on the third down throw to Vance over on the right side, if he holds the ball just a minute, is that was that Washington come? But there was a little bit of a trip in there, I think, a stumble in there as well, too. I don't know if he had a better read on that third down quick out to McDonald against the blitz there.
The one I'm thinking of actually was to Deontay, but it wasn't at the end of the drive. It was the one on the left side where it kind of resulted in a throwaway. I think there might have been miscommunication there, but that was a situation where it was one-on-one with the corner. And unless Johnson was supposed to run a slant there, I don't know why Hodges decided to just try to throw it. So I think Hodges missed a couple plays. There was a third down. I think that's the one you're referencing that he missed. And then I think an RPO too, he probably should have gave the football. But overall, it's hard to be critical of a guy in that situation and a guy that played, I think, really well overall.
Right, and as we stated, one of those incompletions came. Why you're trying? I get the kind of play call. Look, Deontay Johnson, heck of a play on that screen. We talked about throw those wide receiver screens over there, and get them out in open space. Well, I didn't envision reverse field. Kind of instances there. So props to look. For as bad a game as Deontay had against the Browns, he went just the opposite direction to the positive, and it's good to see a young player be able to do that.
Yeah, it shows mental toughness.
Right. Now obviously now we want to get rid of that ultra bad game out of the repertoire, but for him to bounce back the way that he did, all the way around, that's a sign of a mentally strong player, as you just noted there. So that definitely is good to see. The whole after the third down conversion, late third down conversion, that could have been a better set of play calls right there.
Yeah, if you're going to throw it, fine, but put the ball in the end zone. You're just throwing a screen pass, elongated run. I'd rather you just run the football there. I know, the odds of it being incomplete aren't super high, but that's unfortunately what happened. It's just been weird with some of the play calling late. I know the Steelers know how good of a defense they have, but their play calls don't always reflect that, whether you're calling the fake punt, which we'll get into that mess here in a second, but, you're calling the third down play last week where Hodges ended up throwing away, you give the Browns the ball back with a $1:50 left instead of a minute left and no timeouts. Same story this week. You're giving Arizona the ball back with a minute 40 left instead of a minute left with no timeouts. If there's ever a situation where my defense, the Steelers defense, is going to be on the field and the opposing offense needs a touchdown and has to drive 80 yards with a minute left and no timeouts, I'm creating that scenario every time because I trust my defense to make the stop 10 out of 10 times. So the play calling has been weirdly aggressive given how good of a defense the Steelers have the last 2 weeks.
Well, weirdly aggressive at the wrong times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Weirdly aggressive in those particular moments where you could just chew clock and give the offense back with very little time left and no timeouts, and this team's opting to stop clock and giving the offense back with a reasonable amount of time remaining.
Let's see, you went 3rd and 13. You had that play by Hodges outside the pocket, get you the first down. Then the 2-minute warning hits. Then you do the right thing and you run on first down, albeit not blocked up. One thing they had to do too. I don't know how big a factor it played into it. Once McDonald left, they started using B.J. Finney and Zach Banner.
Oh, did they? I didn't know.
As reporting is eligible there. A few times in total. How many snaps did Finney play? Because that'll tell you how many times they.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. That's a good eye.
They did it there. 6 times in total. In the second half, and that's probably. How many times do you reckon they practice that with both those guys as extra blockers in there? They are both offensive linemen, yada yada. But that's been a role Banner has played more. And also you kind of reduce the threat of throwing out of that when 2 of your 3 tight ends are offensive linemen.
Hey, Banner's running routes. I don't know.
Yeah, look, he did, and it's funny to hear him comment on Twitter about it after the game as well too. But regardless, let's see. After that 2-minute warning, you ran on first, albeit for negative yardage, and then on second was that kind of curious 2nd and 12. That screen out to the right, and Chandler Jones read it and batted it down, and all you're doing there is stopping the clock, And, I mean, you're giving them a free timeout in that situation. I mean, you're close enough in field goal range yet. Run. Look, the Cardinals have had problems defending the edges this year. Run something to the outside. Just tell the damn running back to stay in bounds,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I don't care what you call it. Just run it. As long as it's a run call, just run the football. Because if you do that and you run it on third down and then you kick the field goal, there's a minute left. Cardinals you're gonna you're gonna kick a touchback. They got to go 75 yards with a minute left with no timeouts against this defense. It's not gonna happen. So that should be the scenario that should be set up every single time you get the chance to set it up.
Right. And, I mean, you had a chance to run them down in. Let's see. They stopped the clock at if you run it at. Let's see. If you run it, how much time was left at that time? They was it 2 minute? At 2 minute, they ran the first down play. They called timeout. Then at 1:55, they played the incomplete. Now, I guess obviously they could have burned their final timeout had you run at 1:55.
Right, but then on third down you would have run it again.
Right.
And out of timeouts would have killed the clock another 40 seconds.
Right. So you would have been able to run that down to almost right around a minute there by the time you kicked the field goal. So you're taking almost you're taking 3/4 of a minute off. So that was a bit curious set of play calls in there.
Yeah, it was. To go back to some positives, though, for the offense, again, Deontay Johnson, I mean, arguably the MVP for the entire team, certainly the MVP for special teams and offense yesterday. Again, that bounce-back performance was awesome. We'll talk about it a little bit more when it comes to special teams. And I will give this offense credit for clearly their best opening drive of the season. I know we've been very critical and very open about how much they've struggled on opening possessions, had gone 3 and out or turned it over, I think, every week for the past 4 or 5 games and only had 3 points on opening possessions at all this year. That was week 3 against the 49ers, and that was off a turnover by San Francisco. So they put together their best drive. Ultimately, didn't result in a touchdown, but I was happy to get points and at least play with an early lead. Granted, the Cardinals tied things up, but to have an early lead and not be digging yourself out of a hole immediately was a nice change of pace.
Look, I know people wanted a touchdown there. We all do on that opening drive, but I was pretty close to trying to attempt a backflip when they drove down the field and got that field goal to start there. Here's what I wrote in my in my 7 keys before the game. Sure, we all want to see an opening drive touchdown from the Steelers offense if possible. Is that something we haven't witnessed all season? However, even a 6 or 7 play, even a 6 or 7 play drive in the first, here's how I worded it. However, even a 6 or 7 play drives in the first 2 series would be a pleasant change if the offense can't score. These 3 and outs and 5 and outs need to stop. At the very least, string some plays together to control field position. So they go down, they get a field goal. I think that's almost worthy of a 50-year-old man trying to attempt a backflip the way they played. So,
and if they get in the end zone, I'm expecting a backflip.
Oh yeah. Look, and look, I mean, we're getting in that realm where it's okay to start expecting such. But at least baby steps there. At least they went down the field and got a 3-0 lead. And they showed they could. Yeah, it was aided by a penalty in there, but I mean, it all comes out in a wash there. So the fact that they were able to put together that drive and kill off some clock, and look, Kyler Murray can't beat you if he's not on the field, right? And no other quarterback can either. So you eat up clock like that, you kind of shorten the game. You rested your defense a little bit more. That's a few less plays maybe that your defense has to play along the way on top of it. So yeah, only a field goal, and we can build on that.
Yep, I agree. I'll take it. Yeah, low snap counts for both sides of the ball. I think 57 snaps for the Steelers and Cardinals offense. So that kind of helps you late in the year when you're not playing 70 snaps in a game for either side of the football. But overall, yeah, the offense, you're seeing some improvement. I thought it could have been better, obviously, but you're seeing progression. And like I said, I think hopefully if this thing continues to track and project on a slight upward curve, if you get in the playoffs, assuming that you do, by the time you get there, your offense will be in a better place. You'll be healthier. You'll have some of the young guys with more experience, and your offense can be around average, which I think with how good this defense is playing is good enough to give you a chance to really kind of get deep in this thing.
Steelers' best offensive lineman this year is
David Castro.
Yes. What's you watch some of the little things that he did in that game yesterday. I I think he's having an all-pro season, but I don't think it's going to end in that. I really think he's having an all-pro season. I just don't think it's going to end in that.
I'm with you. No, I think I'm trying to think of specific plays that he had. I know that Kareth White, 13-yard run early in that game. Yeah, that kind of
that duo block coming off and getting up front. And he even pulled. I know he missed on one, but I think he turned around and got it coming back the other side there. This is a guy that you're asking to do a lot. Really go on the move, run some power, get second level on some of those double team, duo blocks and all. And I won't be surprised if once again he's the highest graded player, according to Pro Football Focus. Now, obviously, I've only watched the game really like 2.5 times right now, so I haven't had a chance to really concentrate on that. But I really thought David DeCastro had a good game.
I thought the whole O-line played well. Again, you're running for 140 yards. You're running for 100 plus for 3 straight weeks now. And the pass rush I thought was pretty subdued. That was the only thing that really concerned me about the Cardinals was Chandler Jones and T. Sizzle. And I know Jones got the sack and the forced fumble, and I'm not entirely sure if that's on Filer, if that's on Hodges. It might be a combination there. But overall, those guys were pretty quiet. So Villanueva did a nice job. Foster was solid. The pass rush for Arizona really wasn't noticeable for most of that game, sans like one snap.
Boy, if they could get have you been impressed by the tight end blocking at all for most of this season?
No, I have not.
Me either. For as much as they like Nick Vannett, I'm not seeing it. Do
you even bring him back? Even if he wants to come back, he might just be like, let's move on.
Yeah,
maybe it's a number 3. Maybe he wants to come back super cheap.
I haven't seen it, and Vance has been disappointing as a blocker this year too. So, that's one area in the draft. I think if you can get you a good all-around tight end in that second round, I think now you're looking at maybe either a tight end or a guard type in that second round, guard center type or tight end maybe in that second round. Assuming everything's going to stay status quo the way it is right now. I'm not seeing it in Nick Vannett yet.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from the offense you want to touch on? Or do you want to flip over to the defense?
I'm trying to think if there's anything with the running backs there that stuck out. I thought Samuels had a couple of nice runs and after catch stuff. How'd you like them coming out with that kind of that slant flat?
Yeah, they came out aggressive, and I think they were an empty early in that first possession, which I wanted them to be to try to see what the Cardinals' empty check was going to be. So, yeah, I'm fine with them being aggressive. Again, that's just indicative of their confidence in Hodges. The more he plays well, the more confidence it's going to build, and it's going to be kind of cyclical like that. So, yeah, I no problem with that. And again, it resulted in points, which I'm ecstatic about.
It'd be interesting to see when Connor comes back how they, Look, they shouldn't bring him back. I know he's got that proven performance escalator hanging over his head.
But the team doesn't care about that.
And all. But if he's not 100%, he shouldn't come back and play. So, I don't want none of this. It's close. He carries the ball 3 times again and can't square up and do some of the things that his game is power, Right. His game is hitting people and running over people sometimes at the second level. If he can't do that, that's going to change his running style with him protecting that football. And I don't think anything good's going to come out of that. So it'll be interesting to see if indeed he does play against the Bills, how he's used, and if he's the same old James Conner. If he can't be used that way, then they ought to just stick with what's working with them right now, rotating those guys in there.
Mm-hmm. How did the receiver rotation go? Let me look at some snap counts here. Kane, I think, played maybe a little bit more than usual. Let me try to get some snap counts up. Yeah, Kane with 15 snaps, Holton with 17, Tevin Jones with 20, Deontay Johnson with 42, James Washington with 43. So, yeah, they're splitting it up. I think JuJu coming back to kind of be that defined, every down kind of guy will be nice to have, and obviously just his presence, his ability will be nice to have.
Look, and you can rotate those guys out, give them a little bit of breathers as well, too, if you need to. Kane continues to make some good plays, some key plays at key moments here. We talked about that, that back shoulder throw to him. Washington creating that pass interference on Byron, what's his last name? Murphy over there. Boy, that kid's had a rough go of it this year, hasn't he?
I like that. I like him coming out of Washington, but yeah, tough. He's a young guy. He's like 21. I mean, a young guy dealing with young guy problems.
Yeah, most definitely. And of course, they were kind of beat up outside. I don't think Murphy went into that game 100% anyway, and I think they had another cornerback kind of beat up heading into that game as well. Once again, this was a defense that you thought maybe you'd be able to get bust down the field a little bit more than what you did, but the offense did enough. So with that, I guess we should flip over to the defensive side.
Yeah, one other just really, really quick note for the offense. Zach Banner, I know I mentioned him earlier, but 25 snaps yesterday. It's 42% of the whole thing. So I thought he played really well, had a couple key blocks. We might highlight him a little bit closer throughout the week. But Banner, I thought, was a key component in the Steelers' run game.
And very smooth check and release, too. And Duck almost threw him the ball.
Right, he pump faked and threw it away. And on the kneel down, Banner's got some footwork in now. He's moving his feet a little bit. So
right, good.
I'll highlight that. Anyway, for the defense, and again, at the top, I said it's kind of the same old story, but that's really what it feels like. Your defense creating splash plays, up to 33 takeaways on the year. But for me, David, the big thing was not only getting the takeaways, which of course is very valuable no matter where or how you get them, but the position and the field position where the Steelers got those takeaways. One was red zone fringe with Joe Hayden's interception. The other was the 4th and goal play, TJ Watt in the end zone. So you're directly taking away 3 to 7 points from the Cardinals on both of those plays. So it was huge to get the turnovers in general, but where you got them, to me, was the most critical component of those plays.
Yeah, a little too close for comfort maybe sometimes, but at least you are getting those, especially with a young quarterback going up against a younger quarterback and being able to take those away like that. Obviously great on top. And they probably should have had another one there if Terrell Edmonds has a vertical jump better than me. That was but I mean, look, overall, it's kind of like running out of superlatives with this thing, man. Well, that 4-man rush, it's just to watch it and watch the push that they get almost immediately off the snap. Now, there were times when they brought a couple more. I mean, I like the idea of bringing Mark Barron early. I mean, they just weren't expecting that. On that early sack there, I don't think. I mean, if he reads that correctly, that ball comes out. Even though it was kind of had nice coverage over there, but if he reads that right away, maybe he gets that ball out over there to the edge to one of those receivers right there. But 5 sacks from 5 different players, right?
Yeah, well, they're being weird with one of the last 6 sacks that Murray took because they're not counting it to any specific Steelers player. Yeah, which it should be Bud sack. I don't know why they're not giving it to him right now. So maybe they changed that during the week. They should. But it's 5 sacks officially for going to specific Steelers players, and I believe it was 4 different guys. Barron, Dupree, Hargrave, and Cam. And Vince, yeah.
Yeah.
Did Dupree got 1 sack yesterday officially, right?
Yeah. I thought they credited him 1, right?
Okay. Yeah. Did Hargrave not get 1? Am I saying that correctly or not?
Hold on. I'll look at what they have official here. Barron had the 1. Dupree had the 1. Vince Williams was credited with 1. Hayward credited with 1, and there was a team sack on 1.
Okay. So Hargrave not credited with 1. Okay, fair enough. But
you think he deserves to be on that one?
No, I think I'm getting myself mixed up. Dupree should. I think Hargrave got some pressure on that play, but Dupree should be credited for a sack for that last one where Murray fumbled it, and then Dupree kind of tackled him to the ground. But anyway, either way, 5 sacks. They're leading the league now with 48. They're 1 ahead of the Panthers. They're on pace for 59 this year, which again would be a franchise record. Could still hit that magical 60 number I thought they could shoot for at the start of the year. They're doing this all without Stephon Tuitt. The pass rush. I mean, it was inconsistent yesterday, and it's that's how it has to be against a Cardinals team that does well to counter an aggressive defense like Pittsburgh's, but that final possession Arizona had, I mean, Murray just had no chance. They were just pinning the ears back and got pressure routinely, and that sealed the deal.
Boy, the amount of quarterback kind of hits and pressures they had in that game as well. You know what? He didn't run as much as I thought he might. And I think they mentioned something during the game about him maybe having something with a hamstring, talking about Kyler Murray. I kind of expected a little bit more, that read option. Did you?
Well, I'd have to go back and look at it. I think they did a nice job. Again, the Steelers are an aggressive defense. They want to attack you, and the Cardinals with some of their option plays and their quick game. I mean, it had some success. Yeah, I think the Steelers had a good script to start, and then once the Cardinals started to adjust, they did a better job of adjusting. They started playing with tempo, forced the Steelers not to be able to sub, play with tired bodies out there, and kind of slow down that pass rush. But I thought then the Steelers adjusted back reasonably well and did well in the second half. So it was a bit of a cat and mouse game. I think honestly, Dave, the biggest thing that helped the Steelers defense was that they've kind of seen this stuff before. It really helps you prepare. You're seeing a mobile quarterback and an option team in Baltimore. The Cardinals ran 20 personnel, 2 backs, no tight ends, 3 receivers. They ran they ran 30 personnel with 3 backs too, but they ran some 2-back looks too, which is what the Browns have just did at Pittsburgh. So they've seen those looks before. They've seen the option stuff. They've seen the pony stuff. They know how to defend it. They know how to counter it. And I thought overall they did a nice job at dealing with all the stuff that Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray's going to throw at you.
So you saying I need to get on the Twitter machine and let Elias Sports Bureau know that Bud Dupree probably needs credit for another sack?
He does. I don't know why. Why is it just a team sack? It's not like Murray ran out of bounds and no one touched him, and it technically goes down as a sack. Like, why would you not give Dupree credit for the sack on that play?
All right, he's got 9.5 right now. He's going to get at least another half before the season's over, right? In the final 3 games.
Yeah, I want him to be at 10.5 now. If he gets another half sack, or if they credit him the sack that he deserves, it'll be only the 4th time in Steelers history they've had 2 double-digit sack guys on the same year. Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd in 94, Gulden and Porter in 2000, Harrison and Woodley, who did it 3 times, 08, 09, and 10, and then Watt and Dupree this year. So that's a really, really good company to be in.
And if Cameron Hayward gets 2 more sacks.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Good point.
You have 3 with and I went trying researching back through pro football. Obviously, I think the Bills a couple of times. There's obviously been teams along throughout NFL history that have had 3 double-digit guys, but it doesn't happen a lot. And
No.
Obviously, this would be, I think, the first time in Steelers history, right?
I'm almost positive. I have to go back and check, but yeah.
At least back as far as sacks have been stacked.
Yeah, right, since 82. Yeah, I mean, it should be 3 because I would have had it in my stat that I just mentioned. So that would be the first time in Steelers official history they've had 3 guys. So that'd be really cool.
That would be cool, and I think there's an outside chance that Cam Hayward can get 2 more.
Oh yeah, good chance. I think he can get 2.
But incredible. Do you remember? When you went through the predicting, can they get 60 sacks post that you did way back? Did you predict numbers, or did you just have a total number?
I did have a breakdown. Let me look if I can find it. We'll see how close I was. Obviously, this was assuming the Tua was going to be healthy, but
sure.
I did have a player-by-player breakdown somewhere, either on an article or on Twitter. I think I found the article. Let me pull it up. All right, here's my projection that I had, and some of this is going to be accurate, some of it's not going to be accurate. I had a projection. This is being optimistic, but 64 sacks. Watt with 15 sacks. I might have undersold him there. Hayward with 10, right on the money for that. Tua with 7, obviously injury played a factor in that. Dupree with 6, exceeded expectations. Hargrave with 6, Vince with 5, Bush with 5, Daney with 3, Hilton 2, Chicolo, Alulu, Buggs, Edmonds, and Marcus Allen all with 1 sack. So kind of close on some of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think we went through it. And I think I got you to 6. What did I say? Like 59 or 58?
Yeah, you got me to come down on a couple of those. I don't remember where those came from, but you were a little more realistic.
And obviously, not having Tuitt's went to Dupree, I guess you could say. So I mean, overall, look, I mean, how many you got? 47 total, and you got 3 games left, right? So
48, I think, 48 total.
Yeah, I guess they don't have that team.
Yeah, it's being weird, but they have
team in here.
Yeah, 48 total.
Okay, 48 with 3 games left. I mean, can you get 9 more, at least?
Well,
I
I
mean,
wouldn't make this to you.
how many are you gonna get against Buffalo? You know what? That poor kid,
He
that
got beat up
he
yesterday.
got beat up yesterday by that. He's not. Hey, that kid's in the tub today, right
Hmm.
now, ankle and all. I mean, I bet his ankle's blown up on him. And how many times did he get hit in that game? Did you watch? You watched that game,
I
didn't
did.
you?
Yeah, I felt bad for Josh Allen, dude. He was just getting whooped up on. I can
Okay.
look to see how many hits
I mean,
the
he had
Ravens
to
had. It
get
was a
hit.
lot.
He had to get hit at least a dozen times, I think.
Yeah.
I'll tell you here in just a minute here how many times he got hit. Let's see. 2, 4, 8. 8 and 4, 12 dozen times.
Wow. Yeah. How many times did they sack him?
Like
Let's see.
6, wasn't it? 2.5.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. And he got that ankle got to. He had to get that ankle heavily taped on him and all. So he's not going to be excited to see that Steelers defense on Sunday night there. So you would think they could get average at least 3 sacks a game from here on out, which would be 9 more. Can they get a couple more in there somewhere and hit that 60? We'll see.
Yeah, they're going to be the first team to do it if they do it since the Panthers in, I believe, '07, I want to say. But the Panthers about a decade, a little more ago, will be the last team to hit 60 sacks in the season. One thing I think the Steelers did well yesterday, and I know it's not everyone's favorite concept, and it had a little bit of a mixed bag yesterday, but especially in the red zone and goal line stuff, a 3-man rush, which I usually only do against immobile quarterbacks, guys that aren't a threat to take off, but they just really, there were 2 instances, the 4th and goal play that Watt picked off, and then the first, I think, red zone drive the Arizona Cardinals had that resulted in a 3rd down incompletion, forcing them to settle for a field goal. Those were both 3-man rushes, where they first forced Murray to throw into tight windows and try to make a difficult throw, and he couldn't find an open receiver. So I think being smart with even pulling back the rush sometimes and just saying, okay, Murray, we're gonna drop 8 in the end zone, find somebody, and he couldn't do it. I think that was a smart adjustment by Keith Butler and company.
Well, the only problem is if you don't get some pressure in there, you know the longer he holds on to that, the more likely something's going to come open for him.
Well, it didn't happen yesterday. I mean, there were some.
Well,
plays.
look, he should have ran. I thought he should have taken off with that one, and
Right.
and TJ kind of baited him into that. So
I mean, there were some times where they dropped 3 in like the middle of the field, which I didn't like. That I think actually the David Johnson touchdown was a 3-man rush, so I didn't like that with some space there for Murray and to give him some time. Now, granted, Edmonds should have made a play on the football, but anyway, I just think in that situation in the red zone where it's going to be tightened up, I mean, it's hard to run because it's not like the defense gets expanded vertically, and your eyes are going to be not on the quarterback in that situation. But I just thought it was one of those little wrinkles, little adjustments where in that situation, playing in tight around the goal line to drop 8 in the coverage, I think worked effectively.
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah. What'd you think about the first the touchdown to the who was it, the tight end there?
Clay. Yeah, that was a little bit of. I think Hayden should have come over the top of that. I don't know if it really would have made enough of a difference, but a little bit of pick play. It was a nice design by Arizona.
Yeah, he just got rubbed off by everything right there in the middle. And if he goes over, maybe that's not it's still a completion, but probably not a touchdown.
Honestly, I think it's a touchdown either way, but I think it would have been just a little better chance. It was a nice design. I mean, it's a tough offense to play. They throw so much at you, but again, I think playing the Ravens and that quarterback run-heavy offense helps you prepare for the Cardinals. I think playing the Browns with Hunt and Chubb, you just saw them, and playing against 20 personnel helps when you play the Cardinals, who's going to throw every back on the roster at you. So I honestly think the teams that they played this year, playing some AFC North ball, helped them prepare for the win out west.
I'm trying to go back in my mind and think, was that touchdown to the tight end the same play that the Browns ran against? Who was it? The Ravens earlier in the year, Ricky Seals-Jones touchdown. Was that the same?
I think that was mesh. I don't think the Cardinals didn't run mesh on that play. I'd have to go back and look.
All right, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw the first replay of that one there, and obviously the other one, Terrell Edmonds has got to have a better angle on that, man. I mean,
it's a really good throw, but you got to make the play, man.
It was there.
Yeah.
That was there for the taking right there.
There's a reason why he and his brother, a running back, have the same number of career interceptions, and plays like that are why.
I mean, you can see him around the box. You can see that athleticism and kind of, he's a fairly decent tackler. around the line of scrimmage. Probably not so much out in deeper space. But man, just the further he gets back away from the football,
Mm-hmm.
not as good.
I thought he was having a nice day until that play. Like his
I did too. I thought he was too until that play. Yeah.
Right, but then he gets exposed in coverage. So yeah, you're exactly right, Dave. He's going to thrive the closer he is to the line of scrimmage. The more space he has to play in, the more he's going to get exposed.
I mean, look, how many years is he into this thing now?
Yeah, it's only 2, but it's a lot of playing time. Like it's not like he's a rookie that barely played
Right.
and been a sub guy this year. He's been basically a full-time guy from the word go. So there could still be room for improvement because he is 22, I think. But I think we have a good feel for who he is and who he isn't.
I don't think either. I don't think yet, though, they're going to rush out and get another strong safety in the first 3 rounds of the draft. If anybody's thinking that, I think they're going to try to work through it with them.
Yeah, but the depth is going to have to be addressed because even if you have Edmonds as your full confidence starter, I mean the depth and safety next year is nothing. Just
Right.
nothing.
Right. Yeah. Boy. I mean, he could have really flipped a little bit of the narrative on him a little bit had he made that play.
Yeah, one career takeaway, and coming on basically almost 32 games played, most of those starts. So again, I'll have to go back and look at the numbers, but that's just almost historically bad for that number of starts versus how little takeaways he had at the safety position.
All right, Joe Hayden doing Joe Hayden things with Wiley E. Coyote veteran play there over on the side. Showing cover 3 over on that side and kind of baiting Kyler Murray into throwing that out route, and Joe had told Minka that if they throw that out route, he was gonna jump it there. Kind of semi looked like a trap, cover 2 trap, so to speak. But I mean, Joe Hayden did a good job of kind of selling it as a zone all the way, looking at the quarterback all the way. Tremendous. I mean, as soon as that arm's cocked by Murray, he's breaking on the football, and just a smart play overall by him. And if one thing that you could see, at least on the next gen stuff, right, and that's a good thing about those getting access to those plays right away, is you could firmly see that him releasing that receiver or that tight end, I think it was, to the outside there. Edmonds had over the top coverage on that, so there wasn't any risk in that. It was just a great overall timing and executed play by Joe Hayden for that's takeaway. That's interception. What, number 4? What?
Yeah.
Three or four for him, and 2 in the last 2 games, right?
Yeah, he's got 4 this season. So him and Minka now, 2 guys with 4 picks this season. And again, the Steelers have the longest drought in NFL history of not having a defender with 4 picks since Troy in 2010. They get 2 this year. Yeah, it was just cover 2, but like you said, Hayden disguised it well and then drove on the football, made a great play to finish that one. So awesome job there. Hayden has 3 interceptions in 2 games. The last Steelers corner to have 3 interceptions in 2 games is a little trivia question for you. My stats of the weird article. Do you know who it is, Dave?
Townsend.
It's been a while. Yeah. Did you read it?
No.
No? All right, you got it. Deshae Townsend, 2003. Last Steelers corner to have 3 picks in 2 games.
What's Hayden's career high? Is like what, 5?
In a season?
In a season.
Probably his rookie year. That's when I think he had his best numbers. It's his 3rd multi-interception game of his career. As a rookie, he had 6, and that was his season high. So he's at 4 right now. Last time he had 4 in a year was 2013, of course, with the Browns.
Yeah, he could probably still get at least. He might can hit 6.
Yeah. I mean, he's got 4 picks, but he also has deflected 2 of them to Minka, so he's almost got 6. Like, when I go through my chart, he'll basically have 6. I mean, this guy...
Get an assist. They should,
right,
should be an assist on these things.
You got to work in the NFL, Dave, because you got so many good stats. The NFL's got to incorporate receiver interceptions and, assists. I mean, there's some good stats out there.
I'm like, right now with some of the things that they're doing with this is just absolutely phenomenal.
Like what specifically?
I mean, just some of these, just some of these other things that they're getting into with adjusted stats off of kind of intended air yards and things like that. They're going deeper and deeper into this thing, and I tell you, I'm going to learn that next. I'm going to get that next gen stats feed where I can play with some of them dots as well too, because that stuff, I love that stuff, man. I love the analytics side of it, for sure. And yeah, there are a lot of things. I mean, look, some of these stats, run stats will have the kneel downs in it, and so it'd be nice at a press of a button to and we're close, to having all these things there. And look, I'm a firm believer that wide receivers should have interceptions on their stats, and quarterbacks not get charged with some of these things. And there should be interception assist, if you will, on some of these as well too. So yeah, look, he's playing some very good ball right now, and nothing. Him and Nelson on the other side. What happened on that one on Nelson on that deep over? Was it deep over on that one too?
Yeah,
who was it? Kirk?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was a good crosser. I'll have to look at it, but unfortunately, that was the lone big play he gave up.
How many explosive plays did they give up in that game?
Maybe just that one. I mean,
let's see real quick.
Is there a run more of 20? I think that Drake had like a 17-yard play. It might have been.
They had the 31 to Kirk, and then they had the 24 to Johnson on the touchdown.
Oh right, yeah, duh. Okay, so two of them. And again, overall, I mean, this defense just has not allowed a lot of big plays this year. 40 plus. They got to lead the league in 40-yard completions allowed, right? I mean, they got to be right up there.
Yeah.
Don't give up the big play.
Obviously, you'd like to see the Steelers offense be able to register a few more explosive plays. I think that's obviously one area where they kind of are short in. And where else were we going to go here? Kyler Murray. Yeah, okay, the next longest play was 18, and that was the pass short right to Drake. That Drake's a pretty decent running back. You know what?
Yeah, that's why they went up there and acquired him, because David Johnson and Chase Edmonds have had their injuries. Yeah, again, they used like literally 30 personnel, 3 running backs, no tight ends on the field yesterday in that diamond formation. Not something you see too often. I think the Steelers handle it well. But again, goes back to playing Baltimore, playing Cleveland. You've seen types of those things before. I think it makes it easier to deal with than seeing it for the very first time against a team you don't see very often.
I think some teams are going to take notice of that up tempo though, because that look, Watt was gassed a little bit, during that couple of those segments there, and that really seemed to be where Arizona was able to move the football, at like 2 or 3 different points during the game, is when they went up tempo type stuff.
Right, but it's not even just a tempo to me. That's an element of it, but it is just the elongated run game of the screens, of the options where you're just running like crazy. You're chasing it downhill, then you got to run backwards. Oh, they're throwing the swing to the running back, and that's stuff that really wears you down. So I think that's pretty unique to Arizona. Now some teams can try to incorporate that, obviously, if they have the personnel to do it. But I think Arizona's pretty unique in some of the stuff they do with the quarterbacks and the backs that they have. But you're right, that was when they had their success. And that's something the Steelers don't handle super well, because they want to be aggressive. They want to be attacking. They don't want to have to be run and chase. They want to be the aggressors. So I think the Cardinals had a good counter off of that, but then the Steelers adjusted well in the second half, and it really wasn't an issue in the second half.
What did you think about the run fits? We don't have the all 22, but I thought they did a better job of fitting runs than they did, obviously, against Cleveland the week before.
Definitely. I mean, they were great, I thought, especially on some of the read option stuff that Murray did run. I mean, the underrated play of Sunday was
Dupree.
Well, yeah, that was a great play, but to me, it was the Minka Fitzpatrick second and goal.
Oh, Lord, what a play.
That read, and I don't know exactly, because you can scheme this up a lot of different ways to be able to shut down these option runs. I was reading about it some more over this weekend prior to the game, but that was a great reaction, angle, the tackle, and again, you hold him to a field goal. So that was one of those critical plays that's easy to forget. And that's why I call Minka a complete player. Like, I love the interceptions and the big splash plays, but this dude's a solid tackler, great processor, physical guy. He's just the whole package. So that was a super important play.
That's like the combine all rolled up in one play right there with him. The ability to go point A to point B as quick as he did, break down, and then have change of direction on top of it. Yep. Which he had to do, because Murray obviously tried to break his ankles on that. He just stayed. He stayed square and was able to stay with him and bring him down. So yeah, top to bottom, that play was impressive, and I really thought early in the game with Dupree keeping that outside arm free, and stringing that run out and making a play over on the right sideline. I thought that was it happens early in the game, and those kind of plays tend to get lost, But you go back and rewatch the game, and immediately that play jumps out at you.
Yeah, they defended the read option really well. I mean, there wasn't one play where Murray had a lot of running room. He rushed the ball. He had 6 carries yesterday for 2 yards, his fewest of this season. So you held. I know you mentioned maybe he was dealing with a hamstring injury, maybe that hindered him a little bit. But I mean, the guy was not a threat with his legs yesterday, and you can neutralize a guy like that and make him beat you with just his arm. He's a talented passer, but if you just eliminate that facet of the game against something they do really well, I mean that's huge.
All right, shall we get to the special teams portion? This has got
a lot here.
There are a few layers to this onion. This onion's got a bad spot in it too.
All right, well, let's start with a good spot with Deontay Johnson, the 85-yard punt return touchdown. I believe it's the longest punt return touchdown in Steelers history. I think they said that was the second longest ever. I'm guessing the other one wasn't a score because I couldn't find one longer than that resulted in a touchdown. But regardless, I mean, you see Johnson making plays in space. You see what he's capable of. I'm going to take partial credit for this one, Dave, and I think I need to criticize players more often because I think it produces results.
Oh, so you're trying to say that you squared up Deontay Johnson, huh?
I'm just saying, I think he took my advice, and we have a great article from Matthew Marksey. I love him for writing this one. The headline is, Deontay Johnson credits focused on technique and helping out his punt return score. He said after the game, quote, Danny's been telling me I'm going to get one each week, and I'm telling him I got you. I've been harping on myself about getting it right, catching the ball, staying in front, and just focusing on my little techniques, and it sure paid off today. And Dave, that's what I'm talking about. Being a good technician and having comfort and good posture when you catch the football and just being natural, it allows you to unlock all the obvious talents in space that Deontay Johnson has. He has athleticism, change of direction, speed, quickness. If you can play with good technique and you're not worrying about, am I catching the ball cleanly, am I bobbling it, am I judging it properly or not, and you can just go out there and play your game, that's what good technique does for you. So I think he's really proved on that the last 2 weeks. And when you do those little things and you're comfortable back there, you get to play to your supreme potential. You get to live up to it, and he did a great job there.
All we need to do is get you a bucket of bubble gum and Alex Kozora forever.
You're not going to hear from me one day, Dave. You're gonna know where I've gone to Danny Smith's office. But no, I mean, listen, I don't know if it really made a difference or not. Obviously, I'm sure Danny Smith, the issues that Johnson had in that the Bengals game were very obvious, and I think Danny Smith would have said the same exact thing. So it's not something unique to me, but I just had to laugh when I saw Johnson run that one back. I was like, of course. But he's played better, and that's the result you get when you play with better technique.
Here's the thing: we don't willy-nilly just point out people just fanboy Joe fan criticize. I mean, we try to be careful and educated in what we try to do. We try to be real objective when it comes to this. So it was warranted criticism you had of him,
Mm-hmm.
and you weren't trying to say that Ryan Switzer was the better punt returner. You were just trying to focus on the fundamental aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I never said the issue with Johnson was never what he would do after he caught the ball, because those talents are obvious. Right. It's all before. It all is what leads up to it. So that was a concern.
It's what we talked about going back to when he was drafted and him putting the ball on the ground and stuff like that. Look, because he obviously returned a few for touchdowns in college, and that was an exciting aspect of what he did. But it's the whole thing of you can't bobble that thing and you can't put it on the ground before running with it.
Right, exactly. Now, listen, I'll say that my concern was he would put one on the ground soon, and I was wrong about that, so I will happily admit that I thought there was a good chance he was going to screw one up, and I was very wrong about that. He obviously did the opposite of it, but again, the issues I think were fair and accurate, and nobody said I was wrong that whole time. No one said I was incorrect about my criticism, and when you go out there and correct the issues, which were more than correctable, they were just technique things. They weren't something that were impossible to improve upon in a couple weeks, and he goes out there and does it, and then he gets big plays because of it. So super happy for him, super happy for the bounce back performance that he showed. Again, talk about his mental toughness, offense, special teams. I mean, the guy's a playmaker. He plays with good technique. Sky's the limit for Deontay Johnson.
You have to go all the way back to that one AB had against the Colts, right, for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Last time punt was the one where he went sliding down the goalpost.
The goalpost, right? Prime time. Yeah, last Steelers rookie to have a punt return touchdown, Santonio Holmes in 2006, and it's only Deontay Johnson, Louis Lips, only Steelers rookies in team history to have a punt return and receiving touchdown in the same game. So good company.
And the 85-yard punt return by Deontay Johnson was the second longest punt return in franchise history. The longest punt return was 90-yard punt return by Brady Keys at the New York Giants in September 20th, 1964.
But was that a touchdown?
I don't know. That comes from their PR assistant, Michael Birch.
Right, because I believe it wasn't, because in my stats of the weird, I think
this just says the longest. It doesn't say for a touchdown.
Right, I think that's where they're being. I don't think it was a touchdown. Let me look it up, because now I really want to know. Do you have a year on that?
1964, early. September 20th, 1964.
All right, this was against, who was this against?
The
Giants. Let's see if it was a touchdown. It was not. Okay, so 90 yards somehow didn't get in the end zone. So Deontay Johnson had the longest punt return touchdown in Steelers history yesterday. I believe the old record was Randall L. of 84, 15 years ago, something like that.
All right, now I will say that it looked like the Cardinals were slipping on banana peels on that one, but they all count.
Yeah, and hey, Johnson did a good job to cause them to slip on banana peels. All right, let's get to the rest of special teams, which was not, what's the word, good.
Well, there were some good in there as far as coverage and all like that, but the whole fake punt thing, I just, I don't. Where is the upside in that? Even if you get it, to me, the risk versus reward versus what way your defense is playing, and it just that's mighty ballsy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know you mention this all the time. It's very results biased, especially for special teams fakes. Like, if they work, you're a genius. If they don't work, you're a failure, no matter what the intent was or what the look was. It really wasn't a bad look. I look back at what Tom was talking about. It was a light box. They were two returners back there. I mean, I get why that's a situation where you want to run a fake, but no. I mean, again, it goes back to understand how good of a defense you have. You're up 10 points with 8 minutes left. Your defense had adjusted well. Cardinals hadn't done anything in the second half, and they've done very little in the second half, I should say. And that's the decision to make. I mean, I know why they called it off, and I just wish Barry would have got the message. So if you haven't seen, it was a called fake. Someone called it off. Barry didn't get the message. He's the only guy now thinking it's a fake, and that's how you get that disaster.
You wonder what's going through his head.
Well, he said it. I know,
yeah. Oh, wow. It was like, oh, fudge.
Oh, fudge is what he said. Only I didn't say fudge.
Yeah. And he got smacked, poor guy. There's 8:13 left.
Right.
You're up. What's the score?
2010.
2010. Your defense is playing out of its mind. Where you're at on the field is conducive to Barry putting that thing inside the 20 anyway.
Who's having a really strong year.
Right. Who's booming some punts this year. Your coverage team has actually been above average in that game, I thought.
Yep.
All those things don't lead, you don't have Ben Roethlisberger. You've gotten a lot out of your rookie undrafted quarterback up until that point. All those things lead to why in the hell would you call something like that? So yeah, we are results driven, and I would like to think that you and I both would be having this conversation even if that they pull that off and they get the first down there. I would like to think that both of us would be saying, what the hell were they thinking there?
Mm-hmm. And then Jordan Berry running it. I know why they're doing that, because I think they want their 6 blockers up front to block. But Jordan Berry running it from that far away on a 4th and 6 too, right?
Yeah, why?
It wasn't like a 4th and 1.
Was it at the same distance too? The last one they called against the Saints, wasn't that a 4th and 6?
It's a very good question. That one makes me sad too, because that was the Rosie Nix first down signal. Like, nope.
Right. I can understand maybe 4th and 1 or 2,
right.
But yeah, I mean,
because Barry's got to basically run 20 yards from the point of where he receives the punt to getting to the sticks, and Barry's not. I mean, I know he played rugby, but he's not the guy you want running 20 yards. I'd rather see. I mean, you got two running backs on your punt team, I believe. Jalen Samuels traded. I mean, Samuels might have been hurt at that point, but anyway, you got some running backs there that could take a direct snap and run with the football. I'd rather do that than Barry, obviously.
This is killing me now. I want to find out what the distance was.
I mean, look here. This was who did Nix run that punt, the fake punt last year?
I thought so, didn't he?
Yeah, it was 4th and 5 at the Steelers 42 with 4 minutes left. What was the yard line? It was around the 40 yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, right at the 40, I think, wasn't it?
Let's double check.
Right at the Steelers' own 40, wasn't it?
Let me get the number here for you. Yeah, 4th and 6 at the Steelers 40. So they have a clear tendency, and it's less of a clear result of failure on these fake punts.
Yeah, I don't want to see that, especially in that situation again. And now you're not going to surprise anybody for a couple more weeks anyway. So thankfully they got the win and they got it out of their system.
Yeah, we can laugh about it. My only question is, I wonder why they called it off, because they got the look they wanted. I'm just curious what the decision was. I assume that's Dangerfield doing that because he's the personal protector, the quarterback of the unit, but I'm just curious why they called it off.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, why can't there be a better – there's – you know, Barry said I'm 15 yards back there. I can't hear. Okay, well, what is the mesh? What can't there be some sort of signal or something?
Right. There should be. It shouldn't be a verbal call. It should be a hand signal. And Dangerfield was signaling something. I'll have to dive in this one closer. I mean, yeah, it can't be a verbal call. They're on the road, even though it kind of felt like a home game.
Right.
Crowd. Actually, real quick, the crowd was awesome.
Oh my God.
I know that's kind of expected at this point for a West Coast game, but I honestly feel like some of these West Coast games have better crowd noise than Heinz Field. I mean,
I put that on Twitter early this morning as well too, thinking, man, there were segments of that game yesterday where that crowd is louder, or at least seemingly as louder than times at Heinz Field, even when the team is winning. You know, Pittsburgh fans in general. Sometimes they're, the whole renegade. Thank God they have renegade to get them some of them people out. Especially at Pens games. At Penguins games. Sometimes I think, man, you watch some of these other games, other hockey games, and other barns and whatnot, and the crowd just seemingly so much louder. And I don't know what it is about Pittsburgh fans. They just they especially in Pittsburgh, they don't seem to, maybe it's just me, but at times they don't seem like they could be as loud as they could be. But, man, you just look at the different shots from yesterday's game and all those terrible towels swinging and all. And look, at this point, it shouldn't be, surprise. It's just, it's funny every time you see it.
Right.
And I mean, these aren't people, people say Steelers fans, Pittsburgh fans try. Well, no, these people ain't coming from Pittsburgh. I mean, look, even here in Vegas, man, there's a huge Steelers bar here. And I mean, I can't leave the house. Every time I leave the house, I guarantee if I go to a grocery store or Walmart, when I see at least one person wearing Steelers gear,
Wow.
I mean, just, they're all over the place, and it's not surprising to see. Now, look, if the Cardinals were still in this thing and competing, would Steelers fans have been able to get their hands on tickets maybe as easy? I don't know, but you got to remember, people plan for this way out in advance. It's not like 2 weeks out they go, oh, let's go to the Steelers game. A lot of fans out west don't get to see the team play.
Right. I think that's why they're so loud, because it's a special occasion.
I can't wait. I mean, look, we got, I guess it's still going to be, when's the next time they're going to play the Raiders in Vegas? I guess we're still 3 or 4 years away from that and all like that. I mean, there's going to be a huge contingent of Steelers fans out here when that happens,
Yeah, because they just played in Oakland last year, right? So it's going to be another 3 years for that to happen. But yeah, the crowd was awesome yesterday. For special teams elsewhere, I mean, not only do you have a failed fake punt yourself, you give up a fake punt. Now, I'm not going to really take credit for this one because this wasn't anything, a tendency, and this was a totally different fake punt than what they ran before. But you had a chance to stop it. I think they knew something could happen like that, but you had Medikevich and especially Cam Kelly
tripped
missing that tackle. I mean, did he even get blocked? I just felt like he fell.
Yeah, he fell.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. That one should have been stopped. So you can blame Danny Smith for all you want there, but they're in position to make the play. Two guys have their hands on, was it Edmonds, I think, the back running that one, and you give that up. That one was a backbreaker.
Look, you got to know when you're late in the season like this against some of these teams that have nothing to lose. I don't think that's the last one we're probably going to see. I don't know. 3 games left. Baltimore. I don't know. Baltimore probably not as apt to do it. Probably the Jets would be the beat a team. I don't think we'd see something like that maybe from the Bills. At least I wouldn't think that this next game here. But some good, but some equal as bad. And look, I mean, off of that, the Steelers missed fake punt. They ended up getting a touchdown off that. So I mean, they technically went in the books as a turnover anyway. So
Right.
you give up points off of turnover in a situation where you really don't need to give up points off of. It's kind of an unforced error, if you will.
It was. Yeah, it was.
And it could have been, unfortunately, we've used the word could have been catastrophic a few times the last couple of weeks. So, fortunately, it wasn't.
And the kick return game was back to its ugly self. They couldn't even get out to the 20 on like 2 of their returns. So that was, don't know what the issue was specifically there, but blocking, again, not doing Kareth White any favors.
Yeah, I think the coverage teams were okay, though.
Yeah, the coverage team's been really strong the last couple of weeks, and Barry's been having a really career year as a punter, and Boswell's one of 3 kickers in the NFL to only miss 2 total kicks this year, joining Justin Tucker and Mason Crosby. So he's 26 for 28 on field goals, 25 for 25 on extra points. They weren't difficult kicks yesterday, but still, good job from him. That's one of the best bounce back years I think ever from a kicker.
Yeah, I was worried about him.
Yeah, I was too.
I'm not gonna lie, I was worried about him. Them kickers are funny animals,
So awesome.
So yeah, just keep your fingers crossed it keeps up. And look, on that 60-something booming kick that Barry had, it looked like Johnny Holton was held on that. There wasn't a great net as a result of that booming kick there. But if Holton's not held on that, it'd be interesting to see if he gets to that. And I guess one other kind of note, kind of related to that, is Artie Burns was a healthy scratch yesterday, and luckily I've been kind of hot as of late at predicting these Steelers inactives.
Oh, you had Burns as inactive?
Yeah,
Nice.
I had Burns inactive. I thought maybe I had a gut feeling that, okay, well, Justin Lane's been playing well on special teams. Took a stab that, look, that was the toughest one to guess this past week, obviously, because you had 2 players out, and 4 of the other guys were obvious. We're going to be obvious inactives there, but I think that says a lot about where they're happy how Lane is coming along right now in his development, and barring something happening or him not performing well in practice, I expect Justin Lane to continue to get that last helmet, if you will, moving forward.
Yeah, I do as well. Anything else, defense or teams, offense, you want to touch on, Dave, here before we kind of get closer to the end of the show?
No, I think we got it. Until the All-22 comes out, I'm sure we'll find some more Easter eggs in there in the next 24 hours.
All right, one other Steelers-related bit of news before we get to some reader emails. We mentioned this last week's show, but the report came up kind of more concretely yesterday that Panthers owner David Tepper, again, former part owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, has interest in, I think the word was raiding the Steelers front office in the offseason after firing head coach Ron Rivera and maybe some more front office shakeups. Names mentioned Kevin Colbert and Omar Khan. Colbert's not going anywhere. That's his silly. Khan, though, and anyone else, I think, maybe they could leave. So that's something to monitor in the offseason.
I'm trying to figure what Colbert would have to gain by leaving.
I don't know. Other than, I think he's got a house, they said, in Carolinas, and maybe that's a little better weather-wise. I don't see much to gain. He's going to retire. I think he's done after 2021, and I don't know why you would go somewhere else for a year or 2, 3 at max, and then just retire.
I mean, he's like 62 or 63, isn't he?
I thought I was older than that. Let me check. He's in his 60s for sure.
Yeah,
he's 62. You're right. How do you always, yeah.
It's
I'm just amazed
weird.
by the.
It's just weird. And look, I'm not the brightest. This might be shocking to a lot of people. I'm not the brightest individual in the world, but there's something when it comes to some numbers. Sometimes, I'm one of them idiot servants.
He's done 63 in January.
But anyway, when I mean, does he have 8 years left in him?
Not with the way he's talking and doing the whole year-by-year thing. No, I mean he's been in football.
Wouldn't you think that at some point, I mean, he's got to be doing okay financially? One would think. I mean, there's some times where you would probably like to go live your life a little bit, right?
Yeah, that's basically what he said. That's why he wants to do the year-to-year thing. Again, I think he's done after 2021, maybe 2022. But I think he's basically going to exit when Ben exits, which I don't blame him for. That's why you're seeing him be aggressive now and trying to maximize and capitalize on this last Super Bowl window. So for him to go to a new team for 2 to 3 years, whenever he knows he has a game plan to win a Super Bowl in Pittsburgh, it just makes no sense.
And once again, what would he have to gain? I mean, to me, you have more to lose in kind of tarnishing your legacy if you go over there to Carolina and you can't put together a winner in 3 or 4 years. You know?
To me, this is just the same thing as Tomlin to Washington. I'm sure David Tepper would love Kevin Colbert to come over to Pittsburgh, but that doesn't mean that Colbert wants to go to Carolina. It's got to be 2 to tango. And right now, the Panthers still have a GM in Marty Herney, so it's not like they are without a GM right now. So, and Colbert's contract doesn't expire until after the draft. So by the time his contract expires, Panthers are picking a new GM. So none of this makes sense and tells you that Colbert's got any chance to go to Carolina.
Never say never, though. But
fair.
But Brandon Hunt makes a lot more sense for them.
Yeah, I mean, anyone else is fair game. Omar Khan, Samir, I forget his last name, the assistant to Omar Khan. I could see that as a possible promotion. Brandon Hunt. I mean, it could be anyone in the scouting staff. Phil Kreidler's been, college director for a long time. Maybe he wants a different role and something like that. Other particular scouts that could get poached. That's all possible. So anyone else I think is fair game. Colbert, he's going to stay.
I mean, and plus we're on the cusp maybe of this being, I can't believe they did this, kind of season, with the whole trading, him being able to do what he did with AB and get what he got from AB and then turn around and parlay that into Devin Bush. And then a couple weeks into the season doing something just totally unorthodox from a Steelers aspect and dealing away a first round draft pick for a guy in Minkah Fitzpatrick, which, I mean, incredible addition, goes without saying there. And then the whole, you got $1,000 quarterback back there.
Literally, yeah.
You got $1,000 quarterback back there. And normally they don't even, a lot of times the Steelers don't even really give signing bonuses to those tryout guys, when they add them. But they probably flipped him $1,000 bill, here, but I mean, that was Devlin Hodges' signing bonus, was $1,000. And for them to be on that, look, nobody, they'll all admit, none of them knew, even Randy, I think, has admitted that really didn't know much about Devlin ahead of him showing up. Those are things that your scouting department puts in and gets these tryout people in. And who was the other quarterback that they had brought in? They already had the cast off from the Browns, right? Brogan. And there was another tryout quarterback at that same time during rookie minicamp. Who was that?
I can look it up because we have our numbers or tryout guys listed every year. Yeah, I remember the Tennessee or Wisconsin guy. Let me look here.
Tennessee sounds right.
Yeah, Tennessee, Keller Christ.
There you go. That's right. Christ from the Pitt.
Paul Christ was the coach.
Paul Christ. Yeah. So there you go. What I'm getting at is, I mean, look, we still got 3 weeks to go and a lot can happen, but if this team gets in the playoffs and wins a game, man, whew.
Yeah, again, for Colbert, I mean, he knows how good this team is and how good it can be when Ben comes back because he's built the dang thing. Like, he's built up this defense, and he's going to get Ben back next year. So you're going to leave what you've just invested so much into in building, and you finally get it right, and then Ben's going to come back next year, and you'll be like, nope, I'm out. To go to Carolina where there's no quarterback, and that team's, they got their players yelling at their new interim head coach and all that. Like, you're going to go to a mess. Why would you leave what you've just built, a potential Super Bowl team next year, for a rebuild in Carolina when you're going to retire in 3 years? That makes no sense. So I think they're just saying Colbert because Tepper likes him, because of course he would, and it's also the big name.
Easy to connect the dots.
Yeah, and it's just the big name. No one wants to have the report, David Tepper could go after Brandon Hunt. Everyone's going to go, who? I mean, no one's going to care about that story. So Colbert's going to stay. Anyone else, though, they could get poached, sure.
All right, where are you at on this team right now? I'm gonna take the which end do you want the thermometer in?
Oh, all right, I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one. Let me just answer the question. I mean, I try to have the singular game focus of just the game by game. I think it's so hard to look in the big scope of things, but it's hard not to be confident. Like I said, if this offense can continue to grow, which I think it has and it will continue to do, and get to an average level by the time playoffs come around, then you got a shot. I mean, you're in the playoffs, your offense plays a little above average in one particular game, your defense does a great job. You can win virtually any single game if they can get to that point. So it is still a concern because the offense has to show it can score, 24 to 27 to 28 points in a game. I mean, they have to be able to do that. No one's going to win the Super Bowl without that requirement. But if they can show more improvement and more consistency and a little more splash, then hey, man, I'm not going to count this team out. I've counted this team out already. I've been wrong. I'm not going to be wrong twice in the same season.
All right. Now, look, we said we were resetting the adjusted net yards per passing attempts stat offensively, and he didn't let us down and put up a 7.
Nice.
All right. So, and the defense put up a 2 point something this week. So they're now the third best defense, and
who's above New England? And
I think they're tied with New England and San Francisco are 1-2, I think, still. But and I think the Steelers are technically tied with Buffalo. Hold on, I'll let you know real quick there now. But I mean, we're in pretty good territory when it comes to them defensively. Let's see, New England 3.1. San Francisco 4.1, and the Steelers by mere decimal points are ahead of the Bills. Both teams at 4.8. So this ought to be a pretty tasty little matchup here on Sunday night against two pretty decent defenses and two kind of offenses, obviously with still a little bit of question marks in there. But Devlin did put up a 7.0 adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat number. And this should be good for them for flexing this thing to Sunday night.
Yeah, that's going to be a real 5-star matchup, absolutely.
I guess what I'm getting at here is I'm by the week, and especially when it comes to this number, look, we talked about the 12 teams in the running here. Obviously, it's still San Francisco. I don't know what you think about New England right now. I mean,
it's still so hard to count them out.
Yeah.
You just can't.
San Francisco, New England. Obviously, the Chiefs are there. Obviously, the Vikings are there. Baltimore. What do you think about the Seahawks? I mean, the Seahawks Seahawks and the Cowboys were two of the teams that I threw in there because of the being under that 6.25 defensive number just barely at after the first 13 weeks of the season. They are disappointing, though, in Week 14. Both of those defenses let their teams down, right?
Mm-hmm. I still like Seattle. I don't know. I just have a confidence that they're going to figure it out.
I'll be shocked if they win it all. I will be.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but I still think they're a
well,
good team.
I guess that's where I'm going here. What teams? I mean, even what did Saints do yesterday?
They lost that shootout.
Yeah, lost a shootout there. Buffalo, I mean, obviously their defense is good enough. Their offense is seemingly good enough. The Titans could be scary. They're right at that 6.0 mark. The Rams and then the Steelers. So, I mean, I still really, really think that we're looking at the Steelers. Even though I listed the 12 teams up in that most recent post, I think I'm more confident now to say that you can throw out the Seahawks and the Cowboys as potentially winning it all. And I guess in so many words, I'm trying to tell you that I have the Steelers as one of 10 teams now that could potentially win it all this year.
Yeah, well, hey, they keep playing like this. They got a good blueprint. Now it's about just growing a little bit more offensively, and hey, you never know.
Definitely an entertaining season, and we'll learn. Look, that game's out there for the taking at home against the Bills Sunday night. And if they do that, we could actually get in a spot here. There are scenarios where not only could the Week 17 game for the Ravens be insignificant, it might not mean anything to the Steelers either.
Yeah, if they're locked in for like the 5 seed, if they're a game ahead of Buffalo, yeah,
right.
Possible.
So how crazy would that be that you kind of get a quasi bye? I mean,
There's still a ways to go, but I look forward to Mason Rudolph versus RG3 Week 17.
Yeah, I mean that would be something right there. Look, I don't know how much you would play. Maybe you play Devlin a quarter. I mean, that's a good problem to have,
Yeah.
obviously. But the real, people were honest. Baltimore. That game's still going to mean something to Baltimore. New England's going to be right there. Baltimore's going to have to play for something. I don't know. Baltimore's got 2 games. Their next 2 games are very winnable games.
Who do
Against
they have,
the Jets and Cleveland, right?
Oh, Cleveland. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you would expect them to win both of those games. Now, granted, Cleveland blew them out earlier this year, but I don't see that happening twice.
And then the Steelers beat Buffalo, and if Buffalo loses one more after that, does Tennessee still have to lose one in there? I don't know. But I know there's scenarios where the Steelers could lock into the 5th seed in the next 2 weeks. Now, obviously, they'd have to win their next 2 games, and obviously Baltimore would have to win their next 2 games.
Mm-hmm. But it starts with Buffalo Sunday, and that's going to be a tough team. They gave Baltimore a good game yesterday. They clawed their way back. That is a good defense. That's a well-coached team by Sean McDermott with another mobile quarterback and speed on the perimeter. That's the element the Bills have. The Cardinals don't have is speed at receiver. The Cardinals don't have enough vertical threats, and the Bills have that with guys like John Brown. So I'm not certainly overlooking this team one bit. I know you're not either.
No, this is going to be a good game.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Let's close out the show. I think we got a lot of reader emails, so let's try to fire through them.
All right, Jay Bobati writes in, Duck's best skill might be getting DPI. How many is that? I don't know if that's necessarily a skill. I mean, receivers are playing a part in it too, but that's at least, 4 or 5 defensive pass interferences down the field?
Yeah, Kane's got 2. Washington drew out 1 or 2 yesterday. Yeah, I mean, by any means necessary. Anything got to do for this offense to create big plays, I'm all for it.
So good to see the receivers stepping up. Once JuJu comes back, this will be a battle-tested group. He goes on to say White has got some finish to go with his speed, like his vision too. Hope he sticks around on that red zone tackle by Minka on Murray. Were they using him as a spy often? Think we'll see more of that since we've got some mobile quarterbacks on the docket? ? Thanks, fellas. Don't know what I do without Steelers Depot.
Who was he asking about the spy? Minka being the spy?
Minka.
Not on that play. They used Vince, though. Like, Vince's sack, he was spying Murray on that play. They were doing a lot of their 3 inside linebacker sets, like 1-5-5 and 1-4-6, where they were having inside linebacker spy Murray. So you would see one of those guys do that in the future. You may still do similar, but Murray's a much different threat than a Josh Allen. More, I would say more design runs. I mean, they do it in Buffalo too, but he's not. Allen doesn't worry me the way that Kyler Murray worried me.
No, he's just a load.
Yeah, I mean, Allen's a good athlete and he can run. They do design stuff, but I don't worry about that stuff and needing a spy as much as I do with Murray.
Especially not with him. That ankle's got to be killing him.
Right. Yeah.
right now. I just don't see him. It's going to take a lot for him to have to run with that football, I would think, Sunday night. Jake Marion writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, it's fun to enjoy all this winning, especially with a stingy defense that gets turnovers. Personnel-wise, Minka at safety, Bush at inside linebacker, and Nelson at cornerback have made a big difference, as well as Bud showing us what he can do when he is healthy, or obvious changes that make the unit stronger. Just last year, we were hearing about how the D was suffering from communication breakdowns. They're still having a few of those communication breakdowns, which is great. Communicate, which is a great Led Zeppelin song, but awful for a team defense. No rumblings about it this year. This problem seems to have been solved. What do you think they did to resolve this issue? How many... what may have contributed more to the improvement? New personnel or getting the communication right? I think it's a lot of everything in there.
Yeah, I think communication is from a lot of factors. I don't think it's one thing. I just think, you have better talent. Anytime you have better talent, you're probably going to be better off in all aspects of defense. And then just a lot of veteran guys. Edmonds in his second year. Nelson, a new guy, but veteran to the NFL. Minka, a guy that's just a high IQ kind of guy. So I think just having a lot of smart, talented football players helps avoid some of those breakdowns.
Will Fernandez writes in, happy victory Monday, Dave and Alex. Dave, we need to give credit where credit is due. During training camp and when you and Alex were debating on the final 53-man roster, Alex lobbied hard for Duck Hodges to make the 53-man squad. Alex, what traits did you see Devlin during training camp where you said to yourself, he's a keeper? Thanks, guys, for all the great content. I think it was his accuracy and his willingness to go downfield and push the football, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was basically that. It was just that fearless attitude of I'm going to go out there and sling it. I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to be able to take aggressive but educated chances and just consistency, just being able to pass every single test, whether that was at the start of camp, just looking like he belonged, doing well in 2 minute drills, and you do well in the preseason. Just every single challenge that the team gave him, he accomplished it. He met that challenge. And so when you do that, you keep saying, all right, well, let's keep giving this guy more challenges. Let's hold on to this guy because clearly we have something there. And so I didn't at the end of the preseason. I didn't think he was going to make the 53 just because I knew they were going to keep Dobbs. But yeah, you saw that talent almost immediately, and I'm just glad he found his way back to Pittsburgh.
Jim Bendis writes in, what if? What if next week the Steelers lose against the Bills and the Titans beat the Texans? Both Steelers and Texans will have 8-6 records, and Titans will be in first place in their division. Will the Steelers still have the 6th seed?
That's a good question. It would go to conference record, right? AFC record.
Yeah, let's see here. Let me pull this up here. Let's see. Houston has a 7-3 conference record, so if they lost, they would be 7-4, right? And the Steelers have a 6-3, so I would guess that Houston.
What about Tennessee? Didn't you ask about Tennessee?
Yeah, but Tennessee would be the division leader.
Oh, would they? Okay.
Because wait a minute there. Yeah, because Houston and Tennessee both have 8-5 records right now.
Gotcha.
So Houston has the stronger conference record, and they would still have a stronger conference record over the Steelers if the Steelers were to lose and Houston were to lose. So I would believe that the Steelers would drop down to the 7th seed, right? Yeah.
That sounds right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, gotcha.
But they would still be in striking, obviously, because look, Houston and Tennessee have to play twice.
Oh, wow. They haven't played at all yet.
Right. They have to play twice in the final 3 weeks. And Tennessee plays the Saints.
That'd be tough.
In there. And who is Houston's other game against? Let's see. They go, Tampa Bay. I don't know. That's no gimme against Tampa Bay. You don't know what you're going to get from week to week there. So let's go 1 week at a time here and see what happens this next week here.
But long story short, obviously be Steeler fans and then be Texans fans. You want the Texans to beat the Titans? Is that the plan here?
You know what? Yeah, I think so, because I'd much, God forbid, I don't know how it'll all shake out or whatnot, but I'd much rather play that Texans defense than I would the Titans defense, I think.
Yeah, well, I just mean from a standing standpoint of if just let Houston win the South and bump Tennessee down to put them farther out of the wild card picture.
I would concur.
Okay, gotcha.
From what I've.
So that even if the Steelers lose and if Houston wins, then the Steelers will stay in the 6th seed is what I'm getting at.
I would think that would be correct.
Right. Okay. Assuming that because no one else would be able to jump the Steelers with the victory because Oakland lost. There's no one else that can get in there. So okay.
And Indianapolis lost, right? So
even if the Steelers lose next week, and provided that the Texans beat the Titans, Pittsburgh will remain as a 6th seed.
Let's see. There's no way Cleveland can catch this week. Oakland can't catch. No. Yeah. So we're rooting for Houston to beat Tennessee. Regardless.
Gotcha. And they need to bounce back because they got just steamrolled by Denver yesterday.
And if you notice, Houston wasn't one of those teams in my 12. It's because of that defense, Yeah. Let's see. Todd Gensler writes in, just need to comment on how young this entire team is other than the offensive line and the contributions from a bunch of them. Yes, they still make rookie mistakes, but persevere. This game is going to be fun to watch this team is going to be fun to watch for the next several years. I appreciate all the research and information you guys bring for us to catch up on. Thanks and happy holidays. Happy holidays to you, Todd. Thank you. Let's see. I don't think there was so much a question in there, just a comment. Michael Dalton writes in, Friday you replied to an email concerning logistics associated with the Steelers' acquisition of Deion Kane and Kareth White. Is a player's agent allowed to actively market a client from another team's practice squad to a teams which are in need of talent at the client's position? I don't believe so. I think once under contract, you fall into the whole tampering thing at that point, maybe.
Right. I agree.
I don't think agents can go out there. Look, I got a guy over here, on the I just don't think. Now, look, he can pump, I guess, his guy up on social media or whatnot, but yeah, I don't think he can go out to other teams. You know.
Mhm.
Benjamin Keaton writes in, Alex and DJ, and also penalties. Hello, Dave and Alex. Victory Monday never felt this sweet. I'm happy that Alex got under DJ's skin a little bit and maybe helped push him to the point of taking that next step. It's all you, Alex. You should probably get the game ball.
I was just gonna say, yeah, came to my house yesterday.
Yeah, did Pouncy any of them show up or what?
Oh yeah, Pouncy was there.
Okay, well, I'm gonna work on here are two things I'm trying to work on this week. I'm gonna try to get Bud Dupree that sack. I'm gonna try to get you that game ball.
All right, good deal.
On a real note, is this the least penalized game the Steelers have had this season? If I remember correctly, we only had 4 penalties all game. Much more disciplined-looking performance. Definitely excited for the Bills coming to Heinz Field. Didn't they have one game earlier in the season that had 4? I don't know. It's close. Look, Benjamin, coming off of that one they had with the 10 and the 6 false starts, I'll take it.
Yeah, and not only 4 penalties, but only 20 penalty yards. So no big pass interferences or stuff like that created a large chunk plays for Arizona. So good job all around.
Bryce, big win in Arizona. Hey guys, great job team handling business out west. Love to see Steelers Nation show up and show out at the opposing team stadium. Some thoughts and questions. At 8-5, we're looking straight at a scenario where it's actually the Steelers who may have nothing to play for in the final week of the season because they are locked in at number 5 seed. I think Alex and I just covered that. How likely do you guys believe that this will happen? I don't know.
Yeah, probably less likely than odds under 50%, but it's possible. But our focus is just really one game at a time.
It's a scenario. Yes, just beat the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Just beat the Bills. That TD throw from Duck after the bad snap was so ice cold. Best throw from a Steeler quarterback this season. I don't know. I thought, I thought there were a couple maybe better than that. That's like number 4 on my list. I think. Where would you rank that throw from yesterday?
I don't know. It was just a really nice tight window throw with not a lot of space. I think the placement itself. Was it the best throw he had? Maybe not, but it literally the best throw. But it was a really good one.
It was where only his guy was going to catch it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. To do that in that tight window, goal line stuff. I mean, that it might look a little bit easier than it is because that's a throw that's going to have timing, placement, velocity. Nice route too by Deontay Johnson.
If Vance McDonald can't go Sunday night. We're just talking about Johnson there. If Vance McDonald can't go Sunday night, then what do you think the Steelers should do at the tight end position? Obviously, Gentry gets called up. Gentry doesn't have to get called up. He's already on the 53. So, but do they go out and get someone, bring up Kevin Rader, or call on Zach Banner to be the third tight end? Look, if McDonald can't go, I think Gentry gets the helmet. I can't see where them needing a practice squad guy off the practice squad.
Yeah, they've had 2 tight ends active for most of the year, including yesterday. So they're just going to roll with the 2 tight ends, Banner, Finney, like you said. JuJu coming back will allow them to play more 11 personnel. They're not going to make a roster move.
Do you find maybe a way to maybe dress Chooks on top of it?
I think the team's going to be pretty healthy, so it might be tough to find that path. But no, I think you can just roll with Banner and Finney as an extra super emergency kind of guy.
Regardless, we expect Kevin Rader to get signed back to the practice squad on Tuesday or Wednesday when it comes to that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Tom Hoy writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, happy Victory Monday. I would like to know your thoughts, ideas on why Devlin Hodges wasn't drafted at all. I don't follow college football too much, but I know he is from a small school. Is that enough of a reason to not get drafted? Glad we got the win. A few questionable plays, but overall this defense got us the win, although the offense did show some signs of life on a scale of 1 to 10. How happy are you guys with the win? Love listening to you guys. And Dave, you and I are about the same age, so I get 99% of your throwbacks. We need to get Alex a few hours to watch some TV. Believe it or not, Alex still watches more TV than I do.
I watch very little TV though, so I think we're about the same there. I'm guessing.
Yeah, you watch more than I do at this date.
Yeah.
You find more time to play video games too.
Yeah, that's my thing. It'll NHL 20. So if you have a PlayStation, hit me up on Twitter. Anyway,
no, don't hit him up on Twitter. He's got work to do. Don't hit him up nowhere.
Oh my goodness. For excitement for the win, I mean it's always a 10 for me. I'm always excited for a win. I mean I know it might not be the most for not winning the Super Bowl over here, but still just the win on the West Coast, which team's not there west, near the West Coast is pretty unprecedented. So good job there. Why Hodges wasn't drafted? He was 6'1" from Samford. Those guys don't get drafted too often.
I tell you, it's going to have a lot of people going back through, go back through their scouting, right? And there are probably a lot of people right now kind of questioning, Look, you go back to the whole Parcells thing, man. That might be enough to get a kid, regardless of his size and the school that he went to, drafted.
Yeah. I mean, you're seeing a lot of shorter quarterbacks succeed. Obviously, Drew Brees has been doing it for a long time. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray's #1 overall draft pick. Hopefully, this stigma against short quarterbacks will be decreased because you're seeing a lot of short quarterbacks succeed in today's NFL.
But yeah, I think Alex hit on it. Look, even though this guy was kind of the equivalent of the Heisman winner at Samford, it still wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm. There's only what?
Look, you look at his, you look at that Florida State tape. I mean, his aggressive. He did throw some picks in there, but he the moment wasn't too big for him. Just another game for him.
Who did they play the year before? Mississippi State, I think, where they had a decent game against them, kept it close. So I mean, the guy stepped up in big situations before.
Let's see. Look, sometimes and look, I don't know what's going to happen with the kid past this year, but he's getting it done right now. Gene Giordani writes in, "Hello again, Dave and Alex, and happy Victory Monday. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. My question is, why doesn't Fietner call play actions? I've only watched the game once, so this information might not be accurate, but I don't recall a single play action being called against the Cardinals. What's your opinion on this? Thanks for the great coverage and all you do for Steelers, and always keep up the great work." I haven't charted that far down yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They ran the flea flicker. I mean, that's not play action, but that is some element of that. They just haven't done it a lot. Something that wasn't really in the playbook. Didn't do it a lot with Ben. I think they've done it more, though, since Ben's gone down. I'd have to look at the numbers. Speaking of that, really quickly, I have to go back and look at it. Did someone say that Tomlin looked like he was calling plays yesterday? Did you catch that by chance?
Yeah, there was definitely one play, a segment there where it looked like Tomlin called dime personnel to get in there, and they went running onto the field. I'll tell you that.
That was early-ish in the game?
I thought that was late-ish.
Was it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, but him and Butler had them cards they carry, those little cards that they carry. I don't know.
Okay, I'll go back and check it then.
I mean, but I think it was second half that I saw Tomlin do that. But
okay.
Let's see. John Pierre Santander writes in, "Hey there, Dave and Alex. I know we are in the present, but since we aren't on the coaching staff, I don't think it hurts to think about what the future holds beyond this season for Duck. Is curious to get your guys' thoughts. Is Duck the future at quarterback post-Ben era?"
I'm just trying to beat Buffalo Sunday is really my focus. I mean, he'll be on the roster, and he certainly, earned some sort of role in the NFL. Is he going to be truly that heir? I don't know. I don't think anyone's thinking about that stuff like that right now.
Why do you suppose people want to know that right now?
Well, because everyone likes Duck and they want to know if he's going to be sticking around, and also it's always good to know who the heir is. I mean, that was the goal with Rudolph, and now you have uncertainty because Rudolph doesn't look like he's that guy. So I think it's natural to kind of wonder what's going to happen post Ben in a year where you're living without Ben and you're kind of seeing the struggles and challenges without number 7 out there. So I get why the question's asked. Just not my focus right now.
I'll go on and add my 2 cents here in a minute. He goes on to write, "I think most might say no because he doesn't have the pedigree." No, I don't think, look, either he can play or not at this point. He doesn't have the X round label attached to him. Mason was a third rounder, and before the season started, that's how many of us thought of him. The future, I feel Duck will be given a chance to earn the starting spot after Ben retires. If not, he will be a long time second string quarterback, a la Charlie Batch. What do you fellas think? Side question: what is the over under on 3-hour episodes in 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of the show. Keep up the great work. Here's the thing, man. When you hear even Ben say, let's see what happens with these quarterbacks once they get into like their second and third years. You know, once defenses play them a couple of times and find out their strengths and their weaknesses. Look at guys like look at some of these top quarterbacks right now. You know, in their second and third years. You know, look at Mayfield. I mean, I don't think what I'm getting at is I really don't think you know what you have until a couple years into this thing. And here we are on Duck with just about to make his fourth start, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about franchise stuff, but he clearly has a talent to have some level of long-term role in the NFL. I think that's obvious.
He's not going anywhere from the Steelers anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's technically, what, a 3-year deal? I guess it would be, off the practice squad.
Maybe
they'll get signed. The last of the exclusive rights free agents, right? Those 3-year contracts they get signed to.
Yeah, they'll have control for him for a while.
Yeah. Yep. We'll see.
I don't. Once again, I don't think you can draw any hard conclusions off of what we've seen so far. I mean, how many total pass attempts does he have? 60, if that.
Might be more than that, but it's nice. It's obviously still been a relatively small sample size for sure. I can pull up the
80 pass attempts and nearly 60 completions, and he's got a 71.3% completion percentage, which is obviously nice. But I wonder what is. Let's look at what is adjusted.
8.4 adjusted yards per attempt. That's pretty good.
Let's see. What one's that?
It looks like adjusted yards per attempt is 8.4, yards per attempt 8.5.
Let me see what his completed intended. Where is it at?
Now, obviously in the Chargers game, he dinked and dunked his way to victory, opened it up more the last 2 weeks. Last 2 starts.
I don't think he's got enough to qualify. Yeah, he doesn't have enough to qualify on. Let's see let's do it by week here. I'm trying to find his intended stuff. Let's see, what week were we in? 14 here. And Hodges. I'm gonna have to compile this for you to look at some of these more. Let's see, intended air yards against the Cardinals, 4.2. That's not, and his completed air yards, 4.8. So his completed versus his completed was actually longer than his intended average, which is rare.
Yeah.
And what it means is he completed a couple long passes in there, But and then let's see what it was last week there. Hodges, where are you? 10.6 intended and 8 yards completed against the Browns the week before, which is obviously look. I mean that, and we talked about having a 2.6 yard gap is fine when you have a completed air yardage of 8 over, and you see the results there. All right, back to the email there. I just think it's too far. Too far. I mean, there's not enough there to draw any long conclusions on this, but just know that he's going to be around a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, I mean, the guy's talented. The guy deserves some role in the league.
Jim K writes in, "Hi, fellas. First off, I've enjoyed everyone's hard work at your website for years. Now I have a daughter that's named Alexandra that's 25 years old that's a huge Steeler fan. Dave, can we get Alex and Allie together for a date?"
I'm not saying no.
We live in Elizabeth, PA. My second question is, why has the offensive line turned into such a sieve? Would Ben be under such constant duress, or would defenses play him more straight up. Yes, Alex, and my daughter has the same initials. Okay, so there you go. We're turning into Steelers Depot.
Match.com.
Yeah, yeah. Swipe right.
Oh my God, how do you even know about that, Dave? Who told you that?
Swipe left for swipe right for Alex. In this, I don't know. 25. How old are you, Alex? 25.
No, 26.
Okay, maybe there's something there.
All right.
Jim, send us a picture, and I'll see if I can put this together. And let's see.
Oh my God.
Why
Let's talk about the offensive line. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Why is it such
fine.
a sieve? I don't know.
No, yeah, they're still top 5 in sacks allowed, and three sacks yesterday. I don't think many of those are going to be concretely on the offensive line. I think a lot of the times have been quarterbacks getting themselves into trouble, drifting from the pocket, bailing on clean pockets. Like I said last show, prior to this week, I think it was the two players who had allowed the most sacks, have been responsible for the most sacks, Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph. So a lot of it's been self-inflicted wounds by the quarterbacks running themselves into pressure. I mean, the offensive line has had their bad games and individual plays where it's been kind of ugly, but I'm still happy with the job the offensive line has done overall, especially recently. I think it's done a great job in pass protection. Again, the way they're running the football, 120 yards in 3 straight games, to call them a sieve is, I think, it's just inaccurate.
Yeah, I that's caught me off guard as well too. I agree with you. Michael Rocket writes in, "Dear noblemen of the podcast, I am wrong. Am I wrong to wish for a few screen passes to the running backs? I can't remember the last time I saw one. White seems to have great. Look, there was a high one that ducked through to White yesterday, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was a first down. I think the catcher had a good block in space.
Right. White seems to have great vision, ability to make a cut and go. The offensive line is mobile. Give me a freaking screen already. Given your almighty knowledge, why have the Steelers not utilized the screen more? Look, I mean, sometimes personnel, down in distance. I mean, there've been a few, design screens, not many of them, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll see a few more of those when James Conner gets back here.
They're also just not throwing the football a lot. They're throwing it 20, 25 times a game.
Right.
So when you're Ben, you're throwing it 45, you're going to naturally get more screens. When you're throwing it 20, it's just a smaller volume of plays. So that's why you're getting less screens.
He says, or am I wrong? And they have, but I missed it as I stuffed my face with Goodies popcorn. Good for you. Let's see here. Deshaun Campbell. Hello, David Alex. I've been listening closely. I understand the Steelers won't get Dupree and Hargrave back. Look, we're just saying, I'm just saying mostly. I think it's a pipe dream to think Hargrave's going to come back, and I find it tough unless they franchise Dupree to get him back. I'm not saying it's like I say impossible, but it's just going to be tough to do. But he says, I do feel we will get one. Okay, well, yeah, if they're going to get one, it's probably going to be Dupree. And if that is the case, do they look at who's cheaper or they value more? Look, if you as much as I hate to see Hargrave go, you got an every down player off the edge getting sacks in Dupree. I think if you're forced to choose, and Alex, you would probably feel the same way, you would probably like to see him get Dupree back.
Yeah, I mean, both are great players, but it just comes down to what's the better value. And you can argue that. It depends exactly what they're looking for. But if you told me Dupree's going to want, let's say, $17.5 million per year, and Hargrave wants $12 million per year, with Dupree being an every down guy, more valuable position, I'm going to say Dupree's the more valuable player.
Sean Germanowski writes in, the game isn't quite over yet with about 8 minutes to go. Danny Dumbass Smith's bonehead call to attempt to fake against a team with a 3-8 at midfield just happened. And as I speak, Arizona converted that gift into a touchdown. Go ahead and defend him. Bit of Danny is responsible for how poorly the Steelers special teams have been since his hiring 6 years ago. The Steelers have to be the worst in that department. Are they not? Love your show. Kudos, Alex. And please tell me there is a team out there worse than us on special teams so we can feel better about ourselves in 2009. I wonder if Sean had something to drink when he wrote this one. Look, whose call is that? Tomlin's got to probably sign off on that fake punt, right?
He does, but Danny's the one implementing it and saying when it could work, and he's the one creating it. And you're right, Tomlin's the one signing off on it. Yeah, it was a bad decision. I think I understand the principle behind it, but that point of the game, I just think it was a bad idea. Criticize Danny Smith for that. I think that's totally fair. Criticize Tomlin for that. That's totally fair. Again, it was supposed to be called off. That's how that goes. Dallas, though. has a much worse special teams unit than Pittsburgh. You can say that with confidence. So if you just take a little solace in that Dallas has truly a miserable special teams unit across the board.
All right, the Devlin's in the details. Chris Warren, hey guys, I'm so proud of the Duck. I laid 500 bones on the Steelers yesterday, in large part based on the trust in our defense, but also based on my trust that Duck won't kill us. He's making plays with both his arms and legs. I'd love to see us get a bit more creative in early downs so that Duck isn't just throwing the ball in situations where the opponent knows that we have no other choice. Give him some second and short situation. He'll be able to throw the ball down the field, less pressure. Long live the Duck. I think we got through most of them there, Alex. There was a bunch of them this morning, but you got anything else to add? We obviously will have the All-22 tape around midnight tonight, and then we'll start going through that, and we'll talk a little bit more on Wednesday. Mike Tomlin will talk to the media on Tuesday. Pay attention to SteelersDepot.com. We'll recap everything important worth recapping on the site. We'll talk about injuries and more on Wednesday before the team's first injury report comes out. What else you got?
That's it for me. Yeah, we'll be back with everything you said. And good show today. Good win. Steelers 8-5. Just can't believe it. It's just awesome. Just never saw this scenario playing out.
Ditto. And you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, please go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the donate button. Upright navigational bar. That'll take you to PayPal, where you can make a secure donation to me and Alex. Additionally, if you want a ad-free version of the site for $25 for 1 calendar year from the moment you signed up, you can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, and that's been real popular. We get a couple of those, it seems like, every week. We appreciate those people that donate, people that sign up for that ad-free portion of the site as well, too. So with that, in the meantime, until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.